Hello, and welcome to Monday night's Niall Fraser show. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight on the show, German people betrayed. Germany betrayed almost less than 24 hours in to electing their new, which would seem to be the new chancellor, if he gets a coalition. But immediately they've U-turned on closing the borders. And we've got this insane case rumbling through France this now, with the most prolific paedophile in France is up in trial just a few days ago. So we're going to detail this case, a French pedo surgeon with over 300 victims while they were unconscious on his operating table. And he kept meticulous diaries. And then we've got, talking about diaries, we've got the diary of a Tory minister, something about defecating on somebody's head at an orgy, and somebody dressed as Jimmy Savile. And of course, we'll have some miscellaneous stories in amongst it. We've got the papers as well. School lockdown, somebody caught with a BB gun. We've got the fat jabs, linked to 80 odd deaths, and 200 million for Grangemouth. But is it too little, too late? That's the stories coming up in the Niall Fraser show. But first, the intro music. Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the Niall Fraser Show. I'm just making a wee banner here for a new honourable mentions section on the show because we've got a few honourable mentions today. So, first honourable mention is our man, Thomas Kerr. So, Thomas Kerr, we're going to share this page. Thomas Kerr has been down to the Morrison's car park right next door to the safe consumption room. Let's see what Thomas is saying.
So I'm down here at the Barras, and I've been speaking to the press and local residents about the horrific situation that local residents are facing because of the new drug consumption facility. Look, I'm all keen to try and make sure that we tackle Scotland's drug death shame. I think it's an absolute scandal, especially with my own personal background. But having these unsafe needles and spoons and other paraphernalia lying here in the ground is just not safe. It's only a matter of time before an accident happens, and it's time for the SNP to take urgent action to make sure we clean up this site. So I'm down here at the Barras.
Exactly, Thomas. Well said. Well said. So that's an honourable mention straight off the bat. Only 100 viewers, ladies and gentlemen. It's unacceptable stuff. Like and share the broadcast. If you're on YouTube, give it a like. But we've got some insane stories to cover today, particularly the one about the French surgeon. He's the most prolific paedophile in French history. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cover that story. Not many people are talking about this in the press, but we will cover it here on the Renegade Niall Fraser Show. But I just wanted to mention Thomas Kerr and the fact that he's been down to this Morrison's car park and he's seen with his own eyes the situation with the needles, the discarded drug paraphernalia. And I just wanted to talk briefly about that as well because, I was down there at the weekend again and I'm just racking my brain as to what can be done about the situation because I'm down there again. And what's happening again, ladies and gentlemen, as we're filming, this has been 3 weeks on the trot. 3 weeks on the trot. Big up the man for seeing it for himself. Exactly. We see it. Exactly. You have to see it with your own eyes. But this has been 3 weeks now on the trot that I've been down to that Morrison's car park. And every time, without fail, and you'll laugh. It's not, you will laugh. People have been accusing me of having actors there. I mean, I've had it all. But without fail, every time that we've been doing their filming, there have been people walking past us to go and consume drugs, either to inject heroin or to smoke crack cocaine. And it's almost without fail. This is always at broad daylight, afternoon that I've been there, and people are walking right past us. We are standing at a dead end, and they're walking past us to get to the bushes in order to consume drugs. And this is literally every single time that I've been there. I've witnessed addicts go into those bushes and consume Class A drugs. Whilst just 100 yards away, less than a 2-minute walk, there's a safe consumption room. So why are these addicts not using the safe consumption room? Why? That's the big question here. But then, because I've been to other locations now, and we've got some big stories coming up on this, on the needle epidemic in Glasgow. Glasgow, I think we're going to rename it Needle City, because the other locations that I've been to and seen needles at, they're nowhere near as bad as the Morrison's car park, but they are bad. A local train station very nearby, went there. Same thing again. These discarded Orion needle packs, needles everywhere. Just rubbish everywhere. We've even got, I'm not going to spoil the story because it's an exclusive story. And I'm not going to break it here live on the Niall Fraser Show because it's too gigantic a story in order to break here on this paltry podcast. So what I wanted today is just let you all aware that there is a huge story coming up in this battle against needles. A huge story. You won't even believe what this institution, without trying to give too much away, you won't believe what do I call it? It's not even an institution. It's not a company either. I didn't want to give it away. But you won't believe what this facility has to do to combat the needles. You will not believe it, ladies and gentlemen. And it's, if ever there was a story that would stop Scotland in its tracks, it's a story like this one. The people have to know. They'll know soon enough, Matthew. I know. I'm not going to break it on the show tonight. It's too big. It's too big. It's one of these things. Once you've heard it, you would not believe it. You wouldn't believe what people, the lengths that companies and facilities and institutions have to go to in order to combat the needles. But when it breaks, you'll know. Glenn Jackson, evening all. But yeah, honourable mention for Thomas Kerr for actually for going down and seeing for himself. And I read his wee story today in Hollywood Magazine or whatever it is. And his family have had problems with addiction and that as well. So I think Thomas Kerr knows what he's talking about, especially if it was we're talking family members that were involved in drug addiction. So didn't they press you? Sorry if you heard that there, but at least somebody's there. At least somebody's there documenting it. I'm sick and tired of being accused of misinformation. Just on the Friday there, I'm getting accused of misinformation in a Holyrood Parliamentary Committee meeting. And it was like Labour and SNP working in tandem as well. It was Paul Sweeney, who I know quite a lot about. He's given these layup questions to Neil Gray, and he's embellishing my video on it, claiming that I've made claims that I didn't claim, and sort of misconstruing what I've said. But it was actually shocking to see Labour and SNP working in tandem, because it seems like they've both got a vested interest in this safe consumption room that all the addicts are bypassing in order to shoot drugs in the bushes. What sort of use is the safe consumption room if people are literally walking past it 1 minute, 2 minutes past it in order to use the bushes? They would rather use the bushes than use this consumption room. But let's get this off the note, and we're going to be talking about our main story. Not our main story tonight. Our main story is probably going to be this. The most prolific paedophile in French history. His trial has just started, and I haven't seen it in any news outlets at all. Why are we not hearing about this? Why are we not hearing about this? But you'll hear it today on the Niall Fraser show. It's absolutely shocking. And then at the end of the show, we've got the diary of a Tory minister. And this is equally as just absurd. But, we've got one more honourable mention before we go forward. And the honourable mention goes to Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, ladies and gentlemen, the honourable mention. Why am I honouring the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service? Oh, it's because they've got their Stonewall Award. Let's listen in.
Following February's successful LGBT History Month, we are delighted to announce that SFRS has been awarded bronze status in the Stonewall Workplace Equality Index. The Equality Index is the definitive benchmarking tool for employers to measure their progress on lesbian, gay, bi and trans inclusion in the workplace. This is a fantastic achievement for SFRS, especially when you consider the unprecedented challenges we've faced during the pandemic over the last couple of years. So how have we achieved this recognition? Well, there are too many facets to list in full here, but as examples, we've removed gender language from all our policies. Stonewall has delivered LGBT-specific training to our procurement section, senior leadership team and heads of service. We've created 2 equality champions in service, and we're likely to have more of those as we go forward. Our recruitment pages online are LGBT inclusive, and we've held positive action recruitment events over the last 2 to 3 years. We formalised the LGBT plus network, and we've made the rainbow logo a friendly and familiar sight at SFRS on email signatures, Teams backgrounds and lanyards, as well as regularly flying the rainbow flag from our service delivery HQs. Attaining bronze status is recognition of our progress.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh. You get you know, you hear the sirens, and then on top of the siren, they've got a rainbow trans flag flying alongside it. They're like, oh my God. It's too silly not to laugh at.
To make the workplace
We'll put
more
it back a bit.
flag. On email signatures,
You know, they've put the rainbow flag on their team signatures. They've put it in their email signatures. They've put it on their lanyards, because the rainbow is just so important when it comes to the fire service, putting out fires and rescuing people. Of course it is.
Formalise the LGBT plus network, and we've made the rainbow logo a friendly and familiar sight at SFRS. On email signatures, teams' backgrounds and lanyards, as well as regularly flying the rainbow flag from our service delivery HQs.
Of course.
Attaining bronze status is recognition of our progress to make the workplace more inclusive and diverse, ensuring that all colleagues are able to be their authentic selves.
Authentic.
But our work doesn't stop here, and we are already setting our sights on silver or even gold status in the near future.
I think that's quite enough, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's quite enough. I don't want to sicken any viewers out there. I'm sorry to do it to you. I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry I've sickened everyone. I'm sorry. Absolutely insane stuff. And Stonewall and the Rainbow trans jesters, you know, they are cultural terrorists, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just say it as it is. Stonewall and the LGBT of Scotland, they are cultural terrorists. And they're ruining our very culture. This is, you know, we've heard, this is Matthew Middleton. We've heard this before, California. Look what happened there. Of course, we've got the, you know, we had this situation where it was some lesbian firefighter. And they're saying, well, what do you say to people that say maybe you can't carry a man, you know, that's in a fire doing a set of ladders? And she says, well, you shouldn't have got yourself in that position in the first place. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Get the comments in, ladies and gentlemen, for the love of F. Someone save us from this. I tried. Why are these Twitter videos just playing? Why is this? They just somehow start playing. Let's get off that just in case. Just in case it starts playing again. What's slot racing? Slot racing clubs have had some great comments in the last few shows. Shows the lack of trust in the place and the system providing it. Doing drugs around anyone is dangerous. What's the intention of those around you? Irrelevant questions to the average person. DEI needs to be rid of. Absolutely. But when drug taking is unknown surroundings, unknown surroundings can cause freakouts. No one is correctly trained. It's impossible. And this is a thing. I've been doing there. We Say It podcast has been doing there. And now Thomas Kerr has been doing there. But the thing is, I'm trying to sort of collect my thoughts on this before we go on to our main segments. I was ruminating quite, because the last few days, the last few weeks has been really enlightening as to how bad the drug problem is here in Scotland. It's not even just drugs. It's a sort of, it's a cloud of despair that's over Scotland, and that cloud of despair involves drug taking, excessive alcohol use, suicide, and we've got record suicides, we've got record drug use, and we've got record alcoholism here in Scotland. All of them at record rates, and I'm racking my brain and I'm trying to come up with a way to actually solve all this, because I mean I'm a big solutions person. You know, when I looked at the problems in the education system, I'm looking for the solution, and the solution straight away in the education system to bolster up is to take all the smartphones out of school immediately, and over the course of weeks and months it would correct itself. get back to a knowledge-based learning thing. So we'll replace the current. You don't even need to replace the curriculum. You just roll the curriculum back. You roll the curriculum back to when it was actually palatable. You extract all the rainbows for the school, reintroduce an old curriculum, take the phones at the school. Bob's your uncle. We're back on track again. But when it comes to the drug issue, it's so multifaceted. There's so many issues involved in the drug system, the drug epidemic, the alcoholism, the epidemic, the suicide epidemic, this cloud of despair that's covering Scotland. How do we sort of destroy this cloud? And it was when I visited the other area that I started to get, all these thoughts started racing in my head, like, this problem isn't just contained to the Morrison's car park. Morrison's car park, next to the drug consumption room, looks to me like it's ground zero for drug use and needle use and drug injecting. It seems like it's ground zero because we say it, he'll tell you himself that when we were down there, they've attempted to clean it up. A member of the public sent me an email, and thank you for the email. This kind citizen that's keeping me abreast of the situation. They went in and they spoke to the Morrisons at the manager at Morrisons, and it transpired that it was actually Morrisons that paid for the cleanup, because there's been a cleanup, and I said it was a victory for us. It was a victory for us by sharing all the media and get the media attention, and then it went all the way to STV. It went all the way to a Holyrood committee, and yet Morrison still has to pay the invoice for this cleanup service. And what happened was they've cleaned up to a certain point. They've cleaned up to a certain point in the car park, right? You're Morrisons, you send an email out to Rent-A-Kill, to any of these industrial cleaning companies, and you say, look, we've got this problem in our car park with needles and drugs paraphernalia. Any chance you can come out and clean this up? And they say, yes, Morrisons, that'll cost you, say, £1,500 for an industrial clean. And they say, okay, no worries, I'll get that invoice paid immediately. Well, what's happened is, when these industrial cleaners have arrived at Morrisons, and this is when you're getting inside track here on the Niall Fraser Show. You're not getting some bullshit misinformation. You're hearing directly what I'm hearing. If I'm wrong, but I'm right 99.9% of the time. They've paid this outside company, to come and clean the car park. They've cleaned up to a certain point, ladies and gentlemen. Right at the dead end where me and We Say It podcast have been filming the last few weeks. And then they've stopped cleaning because there's been addicts in the bushes consuming drugs. They've stopped cleaning because there's people using the bushes. So it just tells me how many people are actually using the drugs there. But I think it's such a ridiculous situation that Morrisons own the land, or they lease the land. It's their land. And they've paid their industrial cleaning company to come out and clean the area. And they can't kick these people out in order to clean it when it's their land. It's theirs. So how are we in this situation? I don't know. We say it. The place, it's unreal. You really do have to see it for yourself and your own eyes. And we've done our own wee bit of cleaning. But like I said, it's sort of, before I sort of tail off into the stories, I just wanted to sort of briefly talk about this drug situation, this cloud of despair that's covering Scotland, and it's always raining. I mean, it's just there's a sense of hopelessness in Scotland when it comes to the drug death epidemic, when it comes to the suicide epidemic and the alcoholism. There seems to be a sort of air of hopelessness about it all. But when I was thinking, and please do think about this yourselves, right? Because you've got brains just like I do. But what would you do if you were given £7 million, which is the cost of this safe consumption room, if you were given £7 million, what would you use that on in order to decrease the drug deaths and that, the suicides, and the alcoholism? What would you do? And for the love of Christ, it definitely isn't putting down a safe consumption room. But there must be a better way. There must be another way. If you've got any ideas, put them in the comments. I'm happy to air them right on the show right now. Any of the good ones. But having visited this other area, I know for certain that it isn't just the vicinity of this safe consumption room. There are pockets and areas right around Glasgow. There'll be areas in Dundee, Edinburgh, Inverness, on the borders, in Greenock, and wherever you want. Wherever there are people, almost wherever there's despair, wherever there's poverty and deprivation, there's going to be drug use. But how best to tackle it? Straight away, I think you would have to have a national advertising campaign. You'd maybe spend, half of the 7 million on a national advertising campaign in papers, on radio, on TV, everywhere that you could possibly imagine. We need to have a national discussion about drug taking and drug use here in Scotland. I've seen it firsthand when I was at the darts as well. And, if there's any young guys listening, I was at the darts, fantastic night at the darts, I must say. But when I'm in, we're waiting in the crowd to get into the hydro. When we're sitting in the hydro, me and my brother were sitting there watching the darts. And, the amount of people just in our vicinity that I hear about taking drugs, this person sniffing that, they're smoking this, this, that, and the other. And it really is a sort of epidemic among the young guys, I feel, that think it's cool to take drugs. They think it's smart. They think it's like a plaudit or like a badge of honor, or it's not cool. It's not cool. And I just think the way it's people are, maybe it's the way it's glamorized. I don't really know, but there seems to be a problem, and it's not just the most of the addicts that we've seen at these places that are injecting drugs. You're talking 40s and 50s. They're in their 40s and 50s, and they've been injecting for years. But these young guys are the addicts of the future. But I don't think we truly understand the drug problem we've got here in Scotland. I really don't. And it's a difficult one to fix. I really do think it's, I mean, tell me what you think in the comments. How would you, if you were given £7 million to tackle this drug crisis, what would you do? I would say Scotland is the drug capital of Europe now. Not now, we say it. It's been the drug capital for a number of years. Everyone should be safe in their own home. It's an imposed legislation of the heavy drugs that this will never fix the issue. Legalise it in all the drugs and deal with the largest societal issues that put folk on it. I've heard a million stories or reasons, including my own, and all are solvable, but the system makes profit of illness and mental health issues. Again, when you look at companies like, just say it's AstraZeneca, right? We talk about these big, multinational drug companies. Just say it's AstraZeneca, and they've got a diabetes drug. So what they do, they'll screen the entire population. They'll pay the NHS. They'll pay our NHS to screen the entire population for diabetes, wanting to find more diabetes or instances of diabetes so that they can then prescribe them the drug. and then you're taking 2 a day, 700 odd tablets a year from this one company. So is it this sort of same sort of symptom issue here we're doing? We're purposely trying to find things and then give them drugs. I mean, it's this pill for every ill type society that we're in the now. That I think it's going to be really hard to break that mold. But have a wee think over the course of the show as to how, if you were empowered to tackle Scotland's drug crisis, its suicide crisis, and its alcoholism crisis, what would you do? Because I really do want to have like a sort of a good spread of ideas, because this is becoming really a core issue for me. Just having seen the impact on local areas, seen the impact, because it's, I mean, you think, of course, there's a lot of addicts dying, right? We've got all these addicts dying. We've got 1,100, 1,200 addicts dying a year to drugs. But, I mean, how many people are taking, classes? How many people are on methadone? We need straight away, of course, what you would do is have we need a program of reduction when it comes to methadone. We ourselves, as the Scottish Government, are paying through the nose for methadone to give to people that is then killing them. They're parked on it for 10, 20 years. They're parked on it for decades. And it'll eventually be the death of them. And somebody told me the joke. It's no my joke. I'm not really good at writing that joke, so I should probably try. But I was told this joke. What has 100 feet and 4 teeth? What has 100 teeth and 100 feet and 4 teeth? See, I even murdered the joke already. Tell me in the comments, what has 100 feet and 4 teeth? Well, it's a methadone cue. There we go. That's the joke. And because it's one of these things, we don't even really know the true impact of this drug addiction on the entirety of society. The dentists are getting, it's the thing where obviously they've not got a meth line. Exactly. So it's affecting dentistry, it's affecting the NHS in such a huge way. But how do we solve it? Because we know that it's not just isolated incidents, it's almost everywhere. And I'm going to be taken to a sort of, so what was described to me as like a tent city. The ones like Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. I'm being taken to one of these tent cities soon. And I want to see for myself just the devastation. But I mean, it needs to be documented. Why? Where are the journalists? Do we have any journalists here in Scotland? It feels like I'm carrying them all on my shoulders, because it just gets ridiculous sometimes. Nobody wants to break proper stories. Nobody wants to get their hands dirty. They want to be journalists on the computer. They don't want to be in the field actually doing any of these things. I even thought about some crazy act of journalism, and I was going to call it super black market sweep. I know that's how my mind works, but I wanted to find out how quickly I could acquire Class A drugs in different cities. Maybe I've given somebody an idea and they can roll with it, but a super black market sweep. You give somebody £40 and you drop them in Dundee, and you say you've got, how long does it take you to acquire heroin? Super black market sweep. So I wanted to do that in multiple cities and maybe make a documentary on it. But it would be an interesting concept. And I think overall, the sort of people would be shocked as to how easy it is to acquire heroin, and how easy it is to acquire crack cocaine, and how easy it is to acquire other Class A drugs. There we go. We say it. Thanks very much. The weight isn't just on you, mate. You know, you've got people behind me. Thank you for saying that. You know, sometimes it, you know, it does get difficult. You know, pioneers get arrows in their backs. That's what they say. And you know, there's no more space in on my back for arrows. But let's come off this topic of the sort of drug situation in Scotland, and let's hit the main story of this evening. Germany betrayed. And you know, how come Germany's been betrayed? How is it now? Well, let's look. And you know, at this point in time, I need to give every viewer a warning, because there is a video in this segment that requires a straight up warning, and I'm not joking, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to see someone being murdered, because they died of their injuries after the fact, but we're talking about the Mannheim stabbing attack in Germany. And we're rolling it into this Germany betrayed situation. But the actual video itself is so horrendous and so horrific. You know, I'm even debating even putting it on. But I think it might be necessary in order to see just the sort of barbarity of the people that we're allowing into Western society. You know, the types, because these stabbing attacks happen in Germany all the time. People are getting run over, stabbed to death by these crazed Islamists. You know, it's an invasion, and it's terroristic. I mean, it'll stop the Christmas markets. It'll stop people exiting their homes. It'll stop people going to certain things and that. Just like for a while, I'm sure after the Ariana Grande concert, that a lot of people said, no, we're not going to the concert, we're staying home, and we're walking our door. This is what terrorism does to people. So let's get to our bookmarks. Let's hit the bookmarks, and we're talking about Germany betrayed. And here we are. Let's bring this up. And this is Merz, I think Merz. So he just won the election, and they won. I mean, this CDU is, I would say, it's the equivalent of the Tory party in Germany. It's important to sort of put these things into context. You know, they're the equivalent of the Tory party, or was it Christian Democratic Union, or whatever they want to call themselves, but they're very, very similar to the Tories. And it feels like this is shades of Boris. Although maybe Boris was slightly better at PR. You know, he says he's going to stop all the boats, immigrations. I mean, for how many years has Britain been told that immigration is going to be curbed? How many times? How many times are these elected officials going to say, no, we're going to stop immigration, and then do nothing? If not, then it gets worse. So we're talking about. Let's put him up, and we'll see what he's saying. None of us are talking about border closures. No of them. Although this was claimed at times during the election campaign, none of us could close the border.
Niemand von uns spricht über Grenzschließungen. Niemand. Obwohl das im Wahlkampf streckenweise behauptet worden ist. Niemand von uns will die Grenzen schließen.
So this is coming after the fact that Germany's just had probably what we'd call a landmark election, where AfD have come from basically nowhere to getting 20%, 19.5%. They've doubled their share of politicians in Germany, and they're gaining ground bit by bit, day by day, minute by minute. AfD are coming, and they're going to be on top eventually. But it's this type of attitude here that is going to ensure the AfD victory. You know, how many more terror attacks can Germany take? And believe you me, you could probably, it's not a nice thing to say, but every terror attack that happens in Germany, every terror attack that happens in Britain, it's one of these things that are, you've got, there's a correlation between terror attacks and people voting for right-wing parties. People can only take so much. But then you think, well, of course, right-wing parties could pay for terror attacks to happen, and then it would increase their vote share. So this is why I don't like to point the correlation out, because you don't know who's pulling the strings anywhere. And it's important to say these things, I think, because with all the attacks in Germany, if you were to find out that, say, that people were paying for these terror attacks to happen, and they also, I mean, these terror attacks, they naturally, people are going to end up voting right wing, because if the more instances of terror attacks, the more likely somebody is to vote for right wing parties that are anti-immigration, I'm sure. So surely it's in the right wing party's interest for these to happen. It's no a nice thing to say. It's no I might be completely wrong, but this is what I think, is that there's certainly an element of vested interest in the fact of terrorist attacks happening, because they then benefit anti-immigration sentiment and therefore right-wing parties. So when you look at Germany, and Germany's been the victim of so many terror attacks. And again, we're so lucky here in Britain that we're on an island, that people can't just walk to us. Otherwise, we would be the home of terror attacks. But you're talking France, Germany, Spain. These are the places where terror attacks are happening. And these are the places where right-wing parties are also rising. So what is RTL Scott's Club saying? It's a mental state of mind to have no borders. Then why have front doors in your home? That's exactly. That they shouldn't moan if Russia suddenly roll across their borders. And it says kind of, there's something about the dissolution of borders. It's a globalist thing. The people who are pulling the strings, they don't want any borders. They view us as some sort of amalgamous blob of customers, that we just need to move some customers there, and we're all just sheep to them. We're all just sheep. We're viewed like cattle. I've heard politicians directly tell me that all we need to do is convince the unwashed masses. And I don't think of people like that. But there are many, many people in politics that do. And I'm looking at the sort of people in the Green Party, the sort of people in the SNP, that think they can just manipulate people's opinion in order to make it in life. Sell your soul, in essence. Well, nobody's getting mine. So this is where I think we're going to bring the warnings up. I wish I had in fact, we'll change this. Germany betrayed. We'll change this. We'll change a banner. Right. Massive warning. And I'm not joking when this is a massive warning, right? So we've got the media, right? We've got the media asset here. We'll put the picture up first, because then you'll know. This is the image that went across the internet like lightning. This is what happened in Mannheim in Germany, just half a year ago. And this policeman, it was very strange. So he's ended up kicking this guy was trying to apprehend the terrorist. You'll see it in the video. But the policeman kicks off someone who's trying to apprehend or deal with the terrorist, and then the terrorist stabs him in the neck. So this is where you get your massive warning, guys. I'm putting the video on. I'm going to play it once, and that's it, because that's all you need to take. It's 50 seconds, and I'm only going to play it once, and that's it, right? It's so disturbing. But this is the level of barbarity that is making its way across Europe's porous borders. This is what people are. They're given prepaid credit cards to make their way up into Europe and then to cause absolute carnage. And this is what's happening. So you're going to get a massive warning here, guys. If you're just tuning in, anyone that's just tuning in, please be aware of this massive warning. If you are sensitive, if you're, if you don't want to see this, close your eyes. I'll tell people when it's over. But this is where you're warning. Right? You've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, trigger warning, everyone. I'm going to play the video. Right. That's it over, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll get this image done. Well, this image here, right? This policeman ended up dying of his injuries. We've got it. We've got it here. Germany knife attack. Police officer dies of injury. A 29-year-old man. So a man in his prime. I've seen if I read on and he's got a young family and everything. It's just, a 29-year-old was one of the 6 people who suffered serious injuries during the attack at Central Square. Police have not publicly suggested any possible motive. Who do we need a motive here? We know it's like an attack on the West. Oh, it's anti-Western terrorism here. Fuck's sake. Police officer stabbed during an attack has died. During a far-right rally. But what shite. 29-year-old was one of the 6-year-olds. He's placed in an artificial coma but died. And Olaf Scholz. Oh, he's deeply grieved. Deeply grieved, but the migrants still keep arriving. 25-year-old suspect from Afghanistan was shot and wounded. Why is this guy? Why is he from Afghanistan? Why is he walking about in Germany, stabbing people? Why is this? Why do we allow this in society? Why do we allow this? Are we so broken? Are we so broken? Is chasing economic growth worth it? No possible motive. But anti-Islam activist was one of the groups. It was among the wounded. Anti-Islam activist. But we don't know any motive. But we couldn't possibly, attribute a motive to this. So this is where we get to the fact, Germany is absolutely fucked. I knew as soon as this guy gets elected, he then takes off his cloak and he says, actually, the borders are going to remain open. Actually, they're going to remain open. We didn't mean any of the anti-immigrant stuff. It's going to remain open. Which it just plays right into AFD's hands. And you'll see over time, AFD is going to take the win eventually in Germany. And it's going to sweep Germany. And it's needed. There's something very, very sick about a society that we can have these endless amounts of terrorist attacks. And, we do nothing. Nothing happens. Of course, here in Britain, if you do something, then you'll be labelled far right. You'll be put in jail. Even if you tweet a few things or you post on Facebook, you'll be labelled and branded far right, even if it is three young girls murdered by a radical Islamist with an Al-Qaeda manual. So, I mean, this is what Germany's being betrayed. And we'll need to watch over the next few days. They're not going to form a coalition with AfD. And I think it's one of these things. They're going to AfD is going to be like a standalone sort of party. Nobody's going to work with them. But what you'll see happen, and you'll see it happen over and over and over again. And again, I don't want to predict horrible events. I don't want to predict anything, any more death. But there will be more terror attacks in Germany. Every one of them will play into AfD's hands. AfD will gain an eventual majority, and then, only then, will something be done about it. But there must be some sort of critical mass. There must be a certain level of terror attacks a society can actually sustain before people just start losing their shit. And then we just give up on voting altogether. There must be that level. And the way things are going, I don't think we're that far. Society's getting so fucked. We're at such a sort of seismic level of decline here that as we move towards, higher inflation, less opportunities, AI is going to swallow up a lot of people's jobs. Companies are just going to replace people with AI when all of them are out of job. When inflation's through the roof, when we can't afford basic stuff, when the government's taking the heating away for your grand, and there's just terror attacks happening everywhere, there's going to be a breaking point. That much is inevitable. So that was your segment on Germany betrayed. We'll look at some of the comments on. This video. Some of the quote tweets. Let's look at some of the quote tweets. Let's share this tab instead. There's Count Dankula. Our man, Count Dankula. I would say friend of the show, but I don't think he's ever seen my show. But he's a friend of mine. I don't care how many children are stabbed and raped. This kotfa is fucking delicious. David Curtin, another friend. Probably hasn't seen my show either. Bait and switch. Germans conned by the Uni Party again. Germany voted for Merkel 2.0. CDU committed electoral fraud on the German voters this Sunday, as within 24 hours they publicly admitted that they never was going to close the border like they promised, taking away voters who would have voted for the AfD if they'd known the truth. How many people threw their vote away on this bait and switch? Unbelievable. So true. You can't have it. It's impractical. However, the German policy are doing border checks with every neighbouring country except the Swiss and the Danes, as far as I'm aware. And I dare to say they're doing a better job than their UK counterparts. Remember, they called me racists. Eyes wide fucking shut. Never forget. Horrible cunts. The Germans voted for a coward. And here we go. Here we go. This is the truth of the matter. This guy doesn't look like a leader. He isn't one. This guy's another puppet on a string. It's hard to, I don't think it's hard to spot. This guy is not a leader. He just isn't. The CDU should study what happened to the Conservative Party in the UK and then change course dramatically. There you go. There's the direct comparison that we're talking about with the Conservative Party. This CDU, if what we're seeing is sort of can be extrapolated across the West, the Conservatives are basically finished. The Conservatives are basically finished here in the UK because of the endless scandals, this false electoral promises being made time and time again. This sort of conveyor belt of leaders that do nothing but make our country worse. But again, are they actually leaders, or are they just more puppets on a string? We'll maybe play the. Do we still have it in the video bank? Do we still have it? We do have it. Well, I mean, this is the thing. When it comes to Britain, we are so scripted, so fake, that it's an issue. It's an issue because we're voting for someone. Just say it's Keir Starmer. We're voting for someone who says he's going to stop the boats. Then we vote for him. And then he's given a script. All the cabinet members are given a script. They're happy that they're given the script because they appear to be on the outside looking in, that they're the most powerful people going on, the most powerful beating in Britain. And yet the most powerful person there is the person that's handing them the script, that's written this. So they're happy with the perception, they're happy with taking the orders, and it makes their life easier. But let's listen to Cummings, and then we'll go on to our prolific French paedophile story that's just somehow escaped the news.
The person in the... So if you think of two roles, right? The Foreign Secretary in Great Britain and the private secretary in the PM's office responsible for foreign affairs, an official whose name has never been in the newspapers. That person was like 10 times more powerful and important than the Secretary of State was. And I think this is something which people just don't really realize. And it's part of like how the whole system has become fake. So you have fake meritocracy, fake responsibility, and then fake cabinet government. So they all walk up Downing Street, the cameras whir, they pose, they smile, ha ha, I'm going into the most powerful meeting, aren't I great? But it's all nonsense. The cabinet is just a kind of stage theatre. And actually officials in the cabinet office have already decided it all. When you sit in Whitehall now, right, in meetings, they are literally scripted. So when the Prime Minister has a meeting with ministers, what happens is that before the Prime Minister has that meeting, officials go into the Prime Minister's study and they give him a folder. And in the folder at the front is a thing called Chairman's Notes. And that's the script, and that's what the Prime Minister reads out. And the conclusions for the meeting are in the Chairman's Notes, drafted before the meeting happens, right? So the Prime Minister says, hello, Secretary of State, blah, blah, blah. And then all these officials sit around the sides on chairs around the edge of the room. And then the MP, the Secretaries of State, all look down at their folders because they've all got their scripts, right? And this is why I use the NPC meme, right? Because then the Prime Minister reads out, well, we're here to discuss blah, blah, blah. And then he goes around the room, and then Secretary of State for Justice or the Foreign Secretary reads out his bullet points, and then he reads out their bullet points, and they read out. If anyone goes on script, you see the officials sort of go, and then look over at the other official on the side of the room and kind of go, that means we'll come back to that after the meeting and make sure that that doesn't happen. And then at the end, it was a fascinating, great discussion. Thank you so much for your wonderful, insightful, original contributions. And then he reads out the conclusions which are all drafted in advance. And it sounds like a parody, but it is literally how the British state functions. And the MPs are happy with that, right? Well, how does the psychology of it work? The officials are happy because they have almost all the real power. The cabinet secretary is now 100 times more powerful than any cabinet minister apart from the PM. And the MPs are happy because this whole system pretends that they're in charge. So both sides are basically happy with the fake version of the government.
Doesn't that just make you sick, ladies and gentlemen? But this is what I think. And in another interview, Dominic Cummings goes on to say this is the same thing happens right across the West. And I think the CDU is just another victim of this. Whereas they're told, as soon as they get their elections in, as soon as we see the exit polls, as soon as we see that they're going to be the majority in Parliament, they're then descended upon by the people that actually run the country and told what to say, given their scripts. We need a leader that's going to throw that script in the bin. We need, I always thought if I ever made it into government, what I would do in order to combat this this shit, I would just have a camera on me at all times. All times. You know, if I was having a press meeting and there was somebody and I was going off script, I would lock the doors and make sure that I could be heard and to say what I've said. So, say if I was threatened, if you don't go along with the script, Niall, we're going to do this X, Y, Z. I would then lock all the doors and explain exactly what's happened. Because that's what I think needs to happen. We need we need ultimate transparency on our government at these crucial stages where trust in government is in the bin. It's never been lower. People don't trust the government. We need full, unfettered access to the Prime Minister's daily activities. We need to know who he's meeting, when he's meeting them. At all times, we need to be able to hear the meeting. We need to be able to hear all his movements. We need to hear his footsteps. We need to hear the cunt taking a piss. That's how much transparency I think we actually need here in the UK to sort of bring back trust, because it's not. We're in the doldrums here. We're at critical stages here when it comes to British politics and European politics in general. I mean, I think you could escape it in America because it feels like Trump's. The thing is, if you look at Keir Starmer, you don't think he's in charge. You look at this guy in Germany, and you think, there's no way this guy's in charge. You look at right across the West, these leaders are not in charge. We've got a few people that are actually in charge of their countries. We've got the El Salvadorian president, Bukele. He's in charge in El Salvador. And what a difference it's making. You know, he's turned El Salvador into one of the most murder-ridden places in you know, the Western Hemisphere. Into, you know, it's less than one murders per 100,000. And you look at Trump, and he's just enacting all these fantastic executive orders. And you can just tell that Trump's in charge. You know, he's been round the mill once for 4 years. He knows the pitfalls, and he's dodging them all this time round. But let's move on to our next segment. The French pedo surgeon on trial. So if you haven't heard about this story, buckle your seat, put your seatbelt on, buckle up, because this story is absolutely insane. This is France's most prolific paedophile. He's just went on trial in the last few days. A wee snippet here. A French ex-surgeon is accused of raping or abusing 299 victims. Most were child patients. So let's have a look at this. And a former surgeon is going on trial in France for the rape of and sexual abuse of 299 victims over a period spanning more than 3 decades. So why is this not like world news? I don't know. Paris, France is about to hold its largest ever child sex abuse trial, while just one man is in the dock. Wow. Former surgeon accused of raping or sexual abusing 299 people, mostly child patients. Activists hope the trial empowers other victims and helps expose other abusers long protected by societal taboos. Central to the trial are defendant Joel Sunarek, chillingly detailed notes which he used to document decades of sexual violence. So not only is this guy like a hugely prolific paedophile, he's a surgeon, and what he's doing is he's putting people under he's making them unconscious during the trial. Not during the trial, during these surgeries in the theatre, and he's sexually abusing them as they're under. And then he's taking notes. He's just writing a diary. Sunarek, now 74, will face hundreds of victims during a 4-month trial starting on Monday in the Brittany region of northwestern France. He doesn't deny any of the charges, though. He says he doesn't remember everything. Some survivors have no memory of the assaults, having been unconscious at the time to undergo surgery at Sunarek's hands. The trial comes as activists are pushing to lift taboos surrounding sexual abuse that was highlighted during recently the trial of Giselle Pellicott. So Giselle Pellicott was a story that went around the world, where it was this old woman who was, I think it was her husband was just pimping her out, and there was hundreds and hundreds of rapists for this one woman who was drugged and raped by her now ex-husband and dozens of others. France's symbol of a fight against sexual violence. Child protection and women's rights groups and medical community associations see the trial as an opportunity to reaffirm that shame must change sides. It should also mark a step towards a justice system that listens and protects victims and firmly convicts aggressors. Lisunurik faces up to 20 years in jail for rape, sexual assault, and indecent acts committed with violence or surprise. The case began in 2017 when a 6-year-old neighbour denounced Lisunurik, who had touched her over the fence, separating their properties. Subsequent search of his home uncovered more than 300,000 photos, 650 pedopornographic, zoophilic, and scatological video files. I didn't even want to look up some of this word, so they can look, as well as notebooks where he described himself as a paedophile and detailed his actions according to investigation documents. In 2020, Lisunurik was sentenced to 15 years in prison for rape and sexual assault of 4 children, including 2 nieces and a young patient. Jesus. Lisunurik has admitted child abuse dating back to 1985 to 1986. According to investigation documents, some cases couldn't be prosecuted because of the statute of limitations had expired. The Van's trial will examine rapes and other abuses committed between 1989 and 2014 on 158 men and 141 women who were aged 11 on average at the time. The doctor sexually abused both boys and girls when they were alone in their hospital rooms, according to investigation documents. This is the thing. How many of these doctors, how many people in the NHS are like this? His strategy was to disguise sexual violence as a medical act, targeting young patients who are less likely to recall what happened. I didn't really remember the operation. I remembered the post-operation, a surgeon who was quite mean. One of the victims, Amelia Leverk, recalled her time in the hospital at age 9 in 1991. I cried a lot, but I didn't think something like that would have happened to me during this operation. Years later, she described feeling overwhelmed when she learned that her name appeared in Lisunurek's notebooks. That was the beginning of the answers to a lifetime of questions, and then it was like the beginning of this descent into hell as I left the lawyer's office. She said, I felt like I'd lost control of everything. I wasn't crazy, but now I had to face the truth of what had happened. She described the emotional toll on the revelation. I fell into deep depression. My family tried to help, but felt completely alone. The Associated Press didn't name people who say they were sexually assaulted unless they consent to be unidentified or decide to tell their stories publicly. The lawyer told a newspaper that his client would answer the judge's questions as he decided to face up to reality. The case has come to light much earlier. Could have come to light much earlier. Lisunurik had already been convicted in 2005 possessing and importing child pornography and sentenced to 4 months suspended prison time. This is the thing. Like, why is it that paedophiles always get like the suspended prison time? Why is it that they get such lenient sentences? I don't know. Despite this, he was appointed as a hospital practitioner the next year. So again, it's like if you ever see that film Spotlight, which is about the Catholic priests abusing altar boys and whatever it is, what happens is they find out this Catholic priest has abused someone, and then they move him to a different church. Boom, fixed. This is what's happened with this guy. But he's been convicted of possession of importing child pornography, sentenced, and then he was appointed as a hospital practitioner the next year. This is just, it's actually Sickening. Because of processing delays, criminal record check requested by Health Minister at the time didn't include any mention. Even after being informed of his conviction, health authorities and the hospital management didn't pursue any disciplinary action, so they knew about it and just let him keep working. Some child protection groups joined the proceeding as civil parties. The lawyer for L'Enfant Bleu Association, John Christophe Boyer, said that one of the key purposes is to do something, perhaps modify the legal framework to prevent this kind of situation happening again. Child abuse careers are built not by monsters, but by all witnesses' successive silences. It said in a statement, it is each witness's duty to take action, and especially each professional in a position of responsibility in a health, administration, or just judicial institution. So we have more on this story. We'll share this one. I mean, this is just, this is like the trial of the century happening in France. It's almost 300 patients by one guy abused. They knew and did nothing. French surgeon's trial for sexual abuse exposes systematic failures. The trial of French surgeon Joel Lassunarec began on Monday, with him facing accusations of assault in nearly 300 patients, mostly children, over several decades. The case has sparked widespread outrage, with France's Order of Physicians accused of turning a blind eye to early warnings. Already serving a 15-year sentence for child abuse, went on trial on Monday of a sexual assault on 300 patients, or nearly 300 patients, most of them children, over the course of decades. So you've seen all this bit, but you know, here he is talking. I've done hideous things, Lassunarec told the court as the trial opened, adding that he is perfectly aware these wounds cannot be erased or healed. Held at the criminal court of Morbihan in Brittany, new trial sentence centres on allegations assaulted 299 patients, primarily while they're under general anaesthesia, between 1989 and 2014. Of the victims, 256 were under the age of 15, with the youngest being just 1 year old. Fucking hell. We'll get the comment in. My dad always said you have to be a psychopath to want to cut people up, regardless of intentions. I think there needs maybe what it does is desensitize people. At the very least, desensitize people to that level of stuff. At the very least. There was one of these, how many people knew he was a paedophile and let him practice medicine? One victim asked AFP. They knew and did nothing. He was flagged by the FBI in 2004 for accessing child abuse images online while he was working in Lorient, a city in Brittany. A year later, a French court handed him a suspended 4-month sentence. By then, he had already moved to a city 20 kilometres away where he was welcomed as a much-needed surgeon. Christ. Psychiatrist who worked with Lassunarec at the local hospital raised concerns in 2006 after learning of his conviction. He described surgery using so many sexual metaphors that I was shocked. He admitted he had been sentenced for child pornography. I realised he was dangerous and asked him to resign. He refused. There was one that I read that was really quite difficult to read. Maybe it was this one. Oh, this is it. This is from The Guardian. My paedophile letters. French surgeon to stand trial accused of abusing 299 child patients. His black books of handwritten notes in which alleged sexual abuse was recorded are at the heart of the case against him. And this is a sort of story where, the police show up at a woman's door. She doesn't really know what's happened because she's been under general anaesthetic. She doesn't know. So that's the sort of what we're going for here. When 2 gendarmes knocked at our door, In 2019, Marie had no idea she was about to find herself at the dark heart of one of the world's biggest child abuse cases. The French mother of three, now 38, was shocked when the officers told her she had been the victim of Joel Lisenrek, a surgeon and alleged serial paedophile accused of raping and sexually abusing hundreds of children. She recalled asking them, "Was I touched?" "No, madame. Raped," they replied. "I couldn't think they were talking about me. It's like cancer. You think it only happens to other people," she said. "And how could I have forgotten that?" Faced with the blank in Marie's memory, the police showed her handwritten notes in the Lisenrek black books from 1996 when she was 10 years old, and he removed her appendix. There was my family name, my first name, age, the address of my parents, everything he did and how he felt. It was disgusting. The word raped was hard enough, but here were these obscene phrases of what happened. The surgeon who entitled one document "My Paedophile Letters" denies penetration with his penis. Under French law, rape is an act of sexual penetration by any body part or any object. You know, I think it should have been a bigger story, this. Why am I just learning about this? This is huge. But let's take this down. I think you get the point. I'm sure we'll see more details of this trial unfold over the next few months, because it's going to take 4 months. So I just wanted to sort of point it out, as I'm sure we'll see more and more in the coming weeks. But now we move on to our other segment of tonight, though, you know, the last segment of the evening, the diary of a Tory minister. And this one caught me out of the blue. It really did. And we'll share this page. We'll get through this one. I think we do want quite a quiet night tonight, so we'll do this one first. We're calling this one the diary of a Tory minister. We'll get my wee face off. I'm sure you want to see this in its full totality. Ex-Tory minister says advisor defecated on someone's head at orgy, and another dressed as Jimmy Savile. The diaries of Simon Hart rip the curtain back on the bizarre habits of his fellow party members in the dying months of the Conservative government. Jesus Christ. This is where you think it goes back to the Dominic Cummings thing. You know, who are these people? Really, who are these people? I mean, what are they getting up to behind closed door? Are they all mentally ill? Are they all like deviants of the highest order? Is this why we see? I mean, surely somebody somewhere's got to have someone on Patrick Harvey. Surely somebody somewhere's got to have someone on Nicola Sturgeon, on all these people. Surely somebody somewhere has got information on people in the Scottish government that are in on this shit. Because I guarantee you, some of them are in on this shit. Defecated on someone's head at an orgy, and another dressed as Jimmy Savile. So, what the fuck is going on in the Conservative Party? What in the Jesus H. Christ is going on in the Conservative Party? It's just absolutely mental stuff. By Anders Angesley. And let's read it. And this is a guy. This is Simon Hart. His diary. Senior advisor to the ousted Conservative government defecated on someone's head at an orgy. One of the party's chief whips has said sensationally revealed. Sensationally revealed is how I would have described it. Simon Hart detailed the debauchery within the ruling party in his diaries. I mean, thank God somebody's taken a diary. Thank God. His memoirs cover the bizarre habits of his fellow party members in the dying months of the regime. And, you know, it takes you back to the COVID time as well, doesn't it? You know, you wonder why. You wonder why, you know, they're having parties while they've locked down people. Because they need to have the orgies and that, don't they? I mean, the orgies must roll on. The country can get locked down, but we must be able to have orgies. We must be able to defecate on people's heads. We must be able to continue these drug-fueled orgies while people are dying in their hundreds. People, you know, we're force vaccinating people. We're coercing people into taking vaccines. We're locking the economy down. We're destroying the economy. But the orgies must continue. You know what I mean? Where's their banner? Keep the orgies going. So let's read on. He covered the last 21 months in the Tory government before its momentous defeat at the last general election in July. While the diaries provided many shocks, there were two instances that stood out in particular. A Conservative advisor working in government department was reported to the whip's office after reportedly attending an orgy where they defecated on someone's head. So you're sitting in an office one day, you know, you've just finished a phone call, you put down the phone call, you pick up your coffee, you have a sip at it, somebody comes through the door and they say, look, mate, someone I need to tell you, there's going to be a firestorm. Somebody has been at an orgy. You know, one of our guys has been at an orgy where they shat on someone's head. Defecated, you know. I didn't think they used that in the whip's office. Someone has shat on somebody's head while they were high on drugs at an orgy. And the whip says, for fuck's sake, that's a bad one. Or the whip says, what does the whip say? It says, oh, is that it? Did anyone die? Fucking hell. Let's just listen to this. Just listen to this. Conservative advisor working in a government department. He's advising the government. He's an advisor. He was reported to the whip's office after reportedly attending an orgy where they shat on someone's head. Fucking class. The diary entry from October 31st. Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. What was he dressed as? The third burglar. This October 31st described the incident and another shocking case. It said, October 31. Among today's HR joys is the report that a departmental spad went to an orgy over the weekend and ended up taking a crap on another person's head. To make matters worse, in a separate incident, a house employee went to a party dressed as Jimmy Savile and ended up having sex with a blow-up doll, for which he has been subsequently dismissed. Just another day at the office, I guess. Fucking hell. What is going on in Westminster? What is going on in our parliaments in general? I know. His response is that's just a standard Thursday night, bro. It's just so happened to be Halloween, innit? You know, it's funny that the guy that dressed as Jimmy Savile and having sex with a blow-up doll at a party got dismissed. But the departmental spad that went to an orgy over the weekend and ended up taking a shit on somebody's head probably just blew over, you know what I mean? Another extract published in the Times includes how Mr. Hart was woken up by a member of the 2019 intake. We might even have a look at the 2019 intake to see who it could have been at 2:45 a.m. So the worst time that you were ever going to get a phone call. You're tucked up in bed. You know, you're ready to attack tomorrow. You've probably got an alarm set. If you've got an MP, he's probably got an alarm set at 5:30 or something. And then your phone goes 2:45 in the morning. Hello, mate. Hello, is that Mr. Hart? Aye. I'm stuck in a brothel in Bayswater and I've run out of money. Any chance you could bail me out? The MP claimed he met a woman at the Carlton Club before she took him to a brothel. He told Mr. Hart, I now think she's a KGB agent. She wants £500 and has left me in a room with 12 naked women and CCTV. The blackmail operation. Help, Simon Hart, help. I'm stuck in a brothel. It's like, it's Simon Hart, he's in his bed. The wife next to the wife, sits up in bed, rubs his eyes. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, who's on the phone? Oh, he's like, oh my God, who's on the phone? Help, Simon! I'm stuck in a brothel in Bayswater, and I've run out of cash. Oh, Christ Almighty! It's almost too funny. The MP claimed he met a woman. I was at the Carlton Club, and then she took me to a brothel. I think she's KGB. She wants £500 and she's left me in a room with 12 naked women and there's CCTV on. What am I going to do, Simon? What am I going to do? Oh, fuck. And then Simon, after dealing with the brothel incident, he dealt with it. Right, for fuck's sake, mate, I'll send in a taxi then. Are you far away? I'll just come collect you now, for fuck's sake. I'll bring you a monkey as well, £500. If you didn't kill a monkey, it's £500. I'll bring you a monkey. You can pay the women and you can get out of there. He dealt with the brothel incident. Mr. Hart, former MP for Carmarthen West and South Pembrokeshire, recalled telling former Prime Minister Sunak about it over a catch-up pizza at Downing Street. Oh, Rishi, you wouldn't believe what our pal got up to over the weekend. How can Rishi Sunak be taking these stories, honestly? Over a catch-up pizza. What did Rishi Sunak say? He wrote, poor Rishi. He doesn't believe such things happen. Professionally straight-laced and tends to see the good in most people. He should work in the whip's office for a day and that would soon change. It's almost too funny, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? If you heard that one of your MPs was kicking about at brothels, phoning people up at 2:45 in the morning, needing to be bailed out of a brothel because he thinks they're a KGB agent in CCTV. Yeah, let's just get rid of this guy before he fucking causes another problem, you know what I mean? Fuck's sake. Mr. Hart also revealed his view of now Tory leader Badenoch, adding, she lives in a permanent state of outrage. It must be so tiring. He also revealed Mr. Sunak appointed a minister to his cabinet despite believing she was fucking useless. Mr. Hart did not reveal the name of the minister, but in February 2023 reshuffle, 3 women were promoted to the cabinet, those being Miss Badenoch, Michelle Donnellan, and Lucy Fraser. I don't know why they're telling us their names. Well, let's just recap that story, ladies and gentlemen. It's the funny story of, the diary of a Tory minister. I mean, it's just, you can make a film about this shit. So, where do we start? Where do we start? We start probably here. When he's in the whip's office. He's maybe talking to the whip. And I say some guy busts right into the room and says, "Whip, whip, whip! You wouldn't believe. There was this governmental spad, and I've seen him at the orgy. We locked eyes across the room, and when we locked eyes across the room, he then shat on somebody's head, and he maintained eye contact while he was shat on somebody else." Oh, fuck. Aye. October 31. The diary entry. Described an incident on another short. It said, among today's HR joys is the report of the departmental spad went to an orgy over the weekend and ended up taking a crap on another person's head. What is it with these politicians and orgies? What is it? It's their lifeblood. Imagine for a minute. That politicians over the weekends are attending these drug-fueled, crazed orgies where there's just defecation on people. And then on the Monday morning, they're up in Parliament and they've got Prime Minister's questions and they've got a straight face. And they're saying, "Prime Minister, this is shocking. NHS waiting times, NHS waiting times are unacceptable." And meanwhile, they're looking at their watch and they're like, "Christ, is it no Friday yet? I need to get back to the watch." Sorry, I can't keep a straight face. I mean, I have to laugh at this story. I mean, I'm sorry. To make matters worse, in a separate incident, a House employee went to a party dressed as Jimmy Savile. So that was your first mistake. It's going to a party dressed as Jimmy Savile. But then, having sex with a blow-up doll is probably the one that pushed him over the edge. I mean, would people get away with Jimmy Savile on a Halloween night? Would people get away with that these days? I don't know. Remember Prince Harry? Was it Prince Harry? Remember Prince Harry went as a Nazi one year? That's more acceptable. Oh, fuck. Anyway, that's your diary. I'm almost greeting your laughter here. I don't think I can be bothered reading all the papers, but I picked this one up the other day. This was Saturday's paper. School lockdown. And you think Knox Academy pupils locked in classrooms after teenagers spotted with a BB gun. Remember, not too long ago, we had these crisis drills across, it was Lothian schools. I can't remember what school it was in particular, but it had these crisis drills where, pupils and teachers were sort of drilled into barricading doors and hiding under tables. And now, a week or two later, we've got a school lockdown. Some kids walking about with a BB gun. Could have been a gun. Let's delve into this for a bit. Of course, I mean, we're seeing the papers that it's just dominated by Sandy Peggy stuff, as we all know. Andy McGill, the world's gone mad, and any of us says anything, we're far right. Well, you got it, Andy. You got it. So, of course, the news is sort of still dominated by the Sandy Peggy stuff. I mean, the Sandy Peggy stuff, that will continue to dominate the news. We know that. Because everyone's seeing it as the ultimate attack vector on John Swinney. And, you know, the Tories are not going to let up on that attack. Because the Tories, Scots Tories, are the only ones that voted en masse against it. Of course, we had a few exceptions in the Tories, you know, Sandesh Gillane, Doctor, should be ashamed of himself, Jackson Carlaw, and Jamie Green. But don't forget Ash Regan of Alba. So the Tories will continue this attack line because they're the only ones that can credibly go, hey, all yous voted for this nonsense. So how can you say anything about it? By Rhonda Morrison. Pupils at an East Lothian school were locked in their classrooms yesterday morning after a teenager was spotted with a BB gun. Police said a 15-year-old was arrested in connection with the incident. Parents of children who attend Knox Academy in Haddington received an email at 10:15 stating that the school was in lockdown. Imagine getting that email, for fuck's sake. Doesn't even think about it. You'd be galloping into the school. The email signed by the school's senior management team and seen by Edinburgh News said the school is in lockdown. Please do not be concerned. We will be in touch as soon as possible with an update. One woman, a grandparent of two pupils at the school, said her family was left very concerned at the lack of information at the message. Of course! You know what I mean? Oh, our school's in lockdown. Don't worry about it. We'll tell you. We'll update you. We had reports that police were standing outside the school, so my daughter was away. But this is the thing as well. There's been so many stabbings, so many school attacks that, you know, you get an email like that and you're expecting the worst. We had that kids were locked in classrooms, but no one is saying anything else right now. And one mother said, concerns parents have no idea what's going on apart from the fact that all our kids are locked in classrooms, lights are off, and police are there. And we've heard there's an intruder in the school. Fucking hell, man. That must have been a nightmare for all the parents. Honestly, I feel for the parents. Fuck's sake. Police Scotland spokesperson said around 9:55 a.m. on Friday, February 21st, police were called to a secondary school in Haddington following the report of a youth in possession of what was believed to be a BB gun in the grounds of the school. 15-year-old youth has been arrested and inquiries are continuing. There is no ongoing threat to the school nor the public. Spokesperson for East Lothian Council, which runs Knox Academy, said police were called to Knox Academy in Haddington this morning, as were reports of people on the grounds with a BB gun. School staff quickly followed established procedures and the school were placed in lockdown. We were able to reassure parents shortly afterward that the incident had been dealt with and that pupils were all safe and had been released from their morning break. And, you know, Knox Academy. Let's just see if my memory is right. Maybe my memory's off. I thought I'd some locked in the memory bank but not about Knox Academy, but I'm wrong. And here we've got Keir Starmer galloping to the rescue. You know, he's coming up here to Scotland with a £200 million bribe. You know, this isn't for Grangemouth, ladies and gentlemen. You may read this headline and you may think, Yay! Grangemouth's been saved. Yay! This isn't for Grangemouth. What it is, I mean, of course, the money's been gone to Grangemouth, but this is for Anas Sarwar. This money. Anas Sarwar has been plummeting in the polls. His prospects of becoming next First Minister have been dwindling as Keir Starmer's premiership has continued. I bet you could track his dwindling polling numbers along with Keir Starmer's approval rating. So Keir Starmer must gallop up to Scotland and appease his Scottish counterpart, Anas Sarwar. Because there's two main things that Labour won't be forgiven on. And it's one of them is, of course, Grangemouth. Anas Sarwar himself personally promised to step in and save the jobs at Grangemouth. Personally, he said, we'll step in and save the jobs at Grangemouth, which I'm sure, especially in the Grangemouth area, would have resulted in the election of a Labour MP. And that is correct. Well, that's what happened. Brian Leishman became the Labour MP of that area. And then, a few weeks into Keir Starmer's election, Grangemouth decides to shut. And Brian Leishman is raging. And Keir Starmer does an interview for the Downing Street Gardens where he doesn't even know his own MP's name. Brian Leishman didn't even know his name. So Keir Starmer's up here appeasing Labour. Because the other thing that Labour can't really be that are getting stick. There's two main things that Labour are getting stick for. It's the Grangemouth. They were actually protested. They had their conference just on the other day. Keir Starmer actually spoke at their conference. But they're getting protested outside their own conference, which you don't see protests outside Labour conferences generally. But, the people for Grangemouth, the union, are outside protesting against Anas Sarwar in particular for his broken promises. So that needs to be appeased in order to shore up his prospects of being the next First Minister. Now that that's been accomplished through this £200 million sort of, it feels to me like an electoral bribe, if I'm honest. I mean, I'm happy for the people of Grangemouth, but I don't think it goes far enough. There must be a better way to save it than just to plough it into like some sort of something different should be done with Grangemouth, just other than just ploughing money in it. And it's all because they want this green revolution. But a green revolution. Just make it an oil, keep it as an oil refinery and stop shitting on fucking oil industry. Maybe that'll do it. Maybe we can bolster, our petrol and diesel's gone through the roof. You notice that again? The price of diesel and petrol is just creeping up and up and up. How about we start drilling for more oil, get the price of oil and gas down, make it cheaper for everyone? How about that? No, we need a green revolution. So once Labour have dealt with this Grangemouth situation that they've got in their hands, they must be, try to put fires out to make sure Anas Sarwar becomes the next First Minister. They'll think that Grangemouth has been put out. But the other thing is this gender wacko nonsense that just will constantly come up. It'll constantly come up because there's always a new case. There's always a new thing. There's always a new trans issue. It always happens. There's always a man trying to get into a women's changing room. There's always a man who gets convicted of murder, of child murder, and then put in a women's jail. There's always that happening. And it's just continued to happen over and over and over again. But Labour have started to make manoeuvres. Labour have started to say, whoa, we didn't think this gender wacko nonsense would actually result in gender wacko nonsense. If we knew what we now know, Labour are saying, you know, Jackie Bailey's sitting in her chair. If we knew then what we knew now, we wouldn't have voted for it. Anna Sarr was like, we never would have voted for it if we knew now what we knew then. What a lot of shite. What a lot of shite. RTDL, the Scott Racing Club. I don't think it'll be long before people are wanting to rearm, given how many stabbings occurring. There's only so many precaution against defensive against knives. Away backs when I had a business and I wanted to invest in another business, I said to myself, what would be a great business? What's self-protection? Especially down in England where there's stabbings every other week, every other day. There's a child being stabbed in school. There's stabbing on the streets. There's people murdered in broad daylight. People shot dead. Just bring back chainmail armor or bring back some sort of anti-stab vest. Make it as cheap as possible. Make it as durable as possible and then sell them. There you go. There's a cheap and cheerful business idea for you. You know, just build armor and then sell it. But then our last paper of the day, fat jabs linked to 82 deaths. You know, these fat jabs, you don't know what it is. They're taking the world by storm. Ozempic, what's the other one? Monjaro. You know, I actually, you know, in my naivety, I didn't even know about the existence of such jabs until I watched a South Park episode. And the South Park one, you know, South Park ends obesity. And it was really, really funny. And if you haven't seen it, watch it. But that's when I learned of the existence of these fat jabs. Anyway, I think we've covered a lot this evening. We've had a bit about the drugs talk at the start. I did want to have I've got another honourable mention before I do leave tonight. Another honourable mention. Let's consult the bookmarks. Let's consult the bookmarks. And let's share this one. Talking about Sandy Peggy. This is what her front room looks like. Truly overwhelmed by the love and support from everyone. Your beautiful cards, flowers, gifts, and kind words have lifted my spirits during this journey. Knowing I have such incredible people by my side means the world. Thank you all so much, Sandy Peggy. And look at the amount of cards that she's got. Cards, postcards, flowers, celebrations. I think there's even a dog in there, you know. Imagine putting all these cards up like dominoes and then a dog just running at them all. But this is the level of support that you get when you stand up against the cultural terrorists that are Stonewall, that are these trans radical activists, the terrorists of our day. I mean, obviously, we've got actual terrorists running about stabbing people, but we've got other terrorists here in Scotland, and they're cultural terrorists. And these people are Stonewall. These people are LGBT Youth Scotland. They're cultural terrorists, ladies and gentlemen. They are. And let's start calling them that. Let's start calling them cultural terrorists. I think I coined the term just today. But look at the pouring of love and affection people have for Sandy Peggy. It's just overwhelming. So Sandy Peggy gets an honourable mention. But more to the point, it's all the people who have taken time out their busy lives to write a postcard, to write a card, to send a gift to Sandy Peggy. they are the ones that are getting the honourable mention tonight. Because it's letting her know that she's fighting the good fight. You know, just the sheer amount of love and effect, you know, being sent her way is just, it's mind blowing. And let's have a wee look at the crowdfunder and see what's the crowdfunder tracker. So at current, Sandy Peggy, the target was 500, but we are 7,581% of the target. Almost £40,000 in support of Sandy Peggy. And then let's Dr. Upton crowdfunder. The battle of the crowdfunders, ladies and gentlemen. Let's share this one. And Dr. Upton has fleeced the trans activists, the Indo Willoughbys of the world, of £5,000. So we've got 37, almost 38 versus 5. The battle of the crowdfunders, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that's been the Niall Fraser show for Monday night. I hope you have a great week ahead of you. I hope the Monday blues are over. We've not been hitting fantastic viewing numbers tonight, only 600-ish people, 580. I'm grateful to every one of you for tuning in to the Niall Fraser show. If some of you could migrate over to the YouTube channel, that would be great. Just give me a like, give me a share. We're creeping up in the subscribers. We need to get 200 our next subscriber goal, and then it'll be 1,000, and then 2,000, and we'll keep coming up and coming up. But stay tuned to my X, because I'm about to break. I alluded to it at the start of the show, but when it comes to the needle situation in Glasgow and the surrounding area, there's about to be a story break, and it's going to be big, really big, about the lengths people are having to go to combat the needles on a daily basis. And it's just so sickening that this have to happen. But stay tuned to the X, because in the next maybe week or so, that story is going to emerge, and then I'm sure it's just going to break like wildfire. But then I'll be accused of, I'm sure I'll be accused of misinformation again, disinformation again. But in this, I had all the receipts in instance with the centre as well. I've got secret recordings, but I didn't want to put secret recordings out there, do I? No, I don't. But with this story, I've got risk assessment. We've got risk assessments, impact reports. We've got the whole shooting match. If they want to come and say you're talking shite, so keep tuned to that. We're sort of branching into more like breaking huge stories here on the Niall Fraser show. Obviously we'll have some fun with the the ex-Tory, the diary of a Tory minister, and we talk about the sort of Germany being betrayed, but really I think that predominantly the work that I've been doing is more sort of raw journalist activities about Scotland, and just try to find out just what the hell's going on. And now that I've got my teeth thoroughly stuck into this addiction crisis we've got here in Scotland, I think I want to take it to its conclusion, which I think the conclusion will eventually be a Scotland-wide sort of cleanup, a cleanup situation where I want people taking pictures of the area that they need cleaned, and then we'll get people out there to clean it. Just because we need our communities back. We can't have our parks and underpasses and areas in and around our communities that are just filled with needles and add, you're walking your dog, you're taking your kid to school, and you're having to pass these areas that are just full of needles. It's unacceptable. So I think this will eventually I think the conclusion of it will eventually be that we'd have a sort of Scotland-wide needle cleanup. And I'm hoping that we can collect them all and then return to sender, which is John Swinney. Dump them all outside his luxurious pad at Butte House. That's what I think we'll end up doing. And that'll be quite a moment of political activism, I'm sure. But I'm just a small cog in this now. There's a lot of people working in the background on this drug situation. I'm just a small piece on the chessboard. Anyway, it's time to rock the show, and we'll get the outro music on. So the last thing that I want to say really is you have yourself a fantastic week. You'll find me again right here on X live at 9 o'clock on Wednesday and on Friday. But nothing left for me to say, ladies and gentlemen, other than to play the outro music. So thanks for joining me. If you can, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if not, don't. Anyway, guys, sayonara for me, and I'll see you again on Wednesday.